What is up, my fellow nerds? Welcome to Tales of Nerdia. My name is Chris. Today we are talking about Chapter 359 of Hunter x Hunter. We have left the port. We are on our way to the Dark Continent. Very exciting times. There's a lot of events unfolding here that I'd like to discuss. So, let's go! So let me start off real quick by saying I actually was pretty disappointed that we did not get to see the 14th Prince's Nen Beast, because that is where the last chapter left off. I figured we would just pick up right where that left off. Normally I have a lot of praise for Hunter x Hunter, but that was a pretty big disappointment for me. Now, given that, I did go back to that chapter, I looked at the last page, and you notice that when Kurapika turns around, that aura from the Nen Beast disappears. So, should I have expected that? Maybe, maybe not. But really, this panel is just kind of showing you that things are in motion and this Nen Beast is eventually going to come out, and that it did startle Kurapika. So, I don't know. I expected to see it. So I was a little bit disappointed there. But overall, still a very good chapter. So let's start discussing some of this. The very first part that we get to, we're on the second floor, or the second deck of the ship. And there is a lady explaining to the commoners, or actually some of the royal family and VIPs as well, the journey that we're about to take. And the first 3 weeks is going to the refueling station, and this first few weeks is actually in the known waters that have been explored before, not too dangerous. Once they get to that refueling station and they do another checkup on the ship, this is where we get into territory that has not really been explored very well. It's going to be very dangerous, and that's going to be another 5 weeks to get to the new continent. And this is where it's said that we actually skip over to the third deck where the Zodiac and a few other hunters are having a discussion, and the dialogue kind of continues with one of the Zodiac speaking, and they're telling us this is pretty much where the journey ends for the general public as well as the royal family. So the princes are not going to the Dark Continent, they're just going to the new continent, so that's a total of 2 months. So this in and of itself, the war for succession, is going to take place in the next 2 months, and they will not be going to the Dark Continent, because we find out that actually Morel, which was really exciting to hear, he is a sea hunter after all, that after they land on the new continent, the hunters along with Beyond are going to go onto Morel's ship to head to the Dark Continent. So that was pretty exciting to hear, but this war of succession is an arc in and of itself. So even though many of us are really excited to get to the Dark Continent, this journey, the arc itself, this War of Succession, is going to be, I believe, pretty much in the same pace as the past 2 chapters. It's going to be very mysterious, a lot of things going on behind the scenes. I'm sure we'll see some action, I'm sure we'll see some fighting. It looks like the Phantom Troupe is on board. We did see a dead body that looked like it had been shot by Franklin, and then the blood sucked up by Shizuku. I'll get to that in a second. But there's still going to be some action here, but it looks like this is more of a mental game, which is why Kurapika is the perfect person to be the lead of this arc. So when it comes down to actually breaking Hunter x Hunter into different arcs, I would consider this its own separate thing from the Dark Continent. So let's go to the third deck where the Zodiac and some other hunters are meeting, discussing the journey. You have another hunter there, her name is Tokyarin or Tokyarine, and she's going to be in charge of transporting things from the Dark Continent to this relay spot that they are setting up. So when everyone is in the Dark Continent, they're going to be transporting goods and transporting things from the Dark Continent to this relay spot. And this is what this hunter, I'm just going to call her Tokya, this is what Tokya is going to be in charge of. We also find out that Nov is going to be in this chapter, or in this arc, which is pretty interesting because in the Chimera Ant arc after that, I thought he wasn't going to be too heavily involved in the Hunter Association, just the way you saw his mental state deteriorate. And just from encountering Pito, actually it wasn't even Pito's Nen, it was Poof's Nen. so he couldn't even handle Poof's Nen, but he's actually helping out with the Dark Continent. So that is a little surprising to see him still pretty active in the Hunters Association. But it's a welcome character. I do still enjoy him, and his mental breakdown in the Chimera Ant arc was pretty interesting to see. Definitely had an emotional impact on me. And the fact that Morel is going to be here, we're probably going to see him at full power now, because if you remember in the Chimera Ant arc, he was exhausted by the time that they broke into the palace. So we haven't really seen him in tip-top shape. And he is a sea hunter, so he kind of is in his own element, his own environment now. Another cool character that we get to see is Sanbika Norton. She is a virus hunter, a single-star virus hunter. So Norton, she's a virus hunter. Norton antivirus. You may remember her from the election arc. She actually was ranked pretty high up. She was getting a lot of votes, but eventually when the hunters had to give a video presentation kind of thing, she did say that, you know, I appreciate it, but please don't vote for me. She did not want to be the chairman, but she's helping out with this journey, which is pretty cool to see. So we're going to learn a little bit more about her. Next up, we have Sayu, Kanzai, and Sacho. They are guarding Beyond in his cell, and they're just having a little discussion, thinking that this is a little bit overkill. They don't need 3 of us. So Sacho comes up with the idea that, hey, we need to come up with some sort of rotation. Let's present that to Mizai. So it looks like they are looking to Mizai as kind of the leader, I guess, which you would think would be Cheetle. It looks like of these 3, Sacho is the most level-headed, so Sayu and Kanzai bickering there a little bit, and Sachu's pretty level-headed. Next, we get to see the secretary, the secretary's assistant of one of the organizations that's involved in getting approval for the voyage to the Dark Continent. And probably the main interesting part here is the fact that they mentioned that one of the sole survivors of a journey to the Dark Continent is actually part of this Sea Travel Bureau. So we may get to see someone who survived a journey to the Dark Continent. So then you see what the other Zodiac are up to. You have Cheetle and Leorio are helping out with the medical team. You see Mizai is holding a meeting with the royal troops. And then Botobai looks like he's in the court, and he is passing judgment on some people who are possibly causing this chaos. Now, the interesting part. We find a body that has had the blood drained from it. Kurapika notices it has some holes in it. So to me, this is the work of Franklin and Shizuku. Now, how did they get to the upper decks? That I don't know, because they have that doorway being blocked off from the 3rd to the 2nd floor. The other possibilities are that this is the work of one of the hunters that Kurapika does not trust, or it could be the royal family. Lots to speculate here about who could be doing this, but the obvious points to, as far as what has been happening, what happened to the body, the obvious is Franklin and Shizuku, and they have teamed up before in the auction house. But how would they get up to those floors? So that, not 100% sure of. Otherwise, this is either someone in the royal family, one of their guards, something like that. Part of Kurapika's investigation is going to be to find out who this is. So through Kurapika's discussion with these hunters, he realizes that nobody else knows about the War to Succession except him. And he also finds out that they weren't hired through the normal process. They contacted the Kakin family directly. So they were sent, he hypothesizes, by Pariston. And then he assumes that Pariston does not know about the War of Succession either. So Kurapika right now, suspicious of everybody. I'm sure that is a pretty stressful burden for him, that he is the only one who really knows what's going on. He's not going to have any cooperation from the royal troops, from these other hunters, and he is pretty much in a position that is very dangerous. More interesting stuff on that in a second, but now we are in Deck 1, the ceremony hall, where the Queen Oita and the 14th Prince are attending. And I had originally thought that when all of the princes would meet with all of these VIPs and celebrities, that they were going to enter this hall one at a time. But they have an organizer who approaches them and says, now it's your turn to leave. And they have a doorway they go through that is a small room, another doorway to exit the ceremony hall. So they kind of go into this isolated room with a camera. So in this ceremony hall, there is a chance for the death of a prince to happen, either directly from another prince or their guards, but the opportunity is definitely there. The first prince is in the ceremony hall, and we get to see, looks like a little bloodlust from him, when he says, "I won't be killed so easily," that panel, very symbolic, and it looks like either that's aura, it's a very smoky kind of aura, and I don't know what to make of that, if that is either his Nen Beast possibly coming out, or if it's just Togashi's way of depicting that this is a very dangerous character, or it could be that he does have aura himself without the Nen Beast. So, not 100% sure on that, but the interesting part is that his hands are detailed, where everything else is kind of blacked out. So, we did see him pretty much choke out and crush a lion's throat with his bare hands, so if he does have Nen, I would guess that he is an enhancer. We see another interesting part with the 10th and 11th prince. So the 10th prince is told that it's her turn to leave, and the 11th prince, these are both girls, they are sisters. So they are pretty close, or so it seems to be, because once they enter that isolated room before exiting, we kind of see that the 10th prince, the older sister, is pretty much very controlling of a younger sister. She has this appearance of an innocent, sweet girl, but then pretty much tells her sister to shut the hell up, smile, you're an idiot, and by the way, tell your guards to cooperate with mine, and then once it's just us two, I'll ask Papa to let you live. Well, I highly doubt that. If it comes down to the two, she is using her sister. It doesn't look like she cares about her at all. Even Melody, who heard that whole conversation, so she says to herself, this girl's whole being is a lie. The whole front that she puts up of this innocent girl, clearly not true. So we have a lot of interesting personalities amongst all these princes. We'll probably get a glimpse of each one of them. That's going to take a lot of pages. So I think we need to get ready for this 2-month journey to be a pretty long arc. I saw a lot of people comparing this journey to Berserk, how once everyone in Berserk Guts got on that ship, they were on that ship for a very long time, due to hiatus. But hopefully that if we are on this ship for a long time, it's because there's a lot of good content and no hiatus. The art in this chapter makes me think, and the past few chapters makes me think that we're pretty safe for now. Finally, the most interesting part here. Once Oita and the prince leave the ceremony hall, we find 4 more dead bodies, all in the same condition as the first that we found. And at this point, Kurapika has had enough. He whips out the chains, he's got the gun pointed at these other hunters, and pretty much says, I'm going to kill you if you don't answer my questions correctly. So he's going to reveal everything he knows about this whole journey, about the princes, the War of Succession, and then he's going to ask them some questions. If they lie, he's going to shoot them. So when they found the first body, he debated showing his chains or not and thought it would be dangerous to do so. But now, at this point, he's pretty much thinking to himself he's run out of options. He's just going to have to use his Nen, whether or not these hunters or these royal troops that are around know what is going on and know about Nen. So he's revealing his powers to them, and he says, if this part of the chain spins, I know you're lying and I'm going to shoot you. So, what's going to happen? Do you think any of them are lying? Do you think Kurapika's going to pop some shots here? I honestly don't think so. If he does that, that's going to create some chaos. Already on the first floor, I think that's also going to be dangerous for the queen and for the prince. If he does end up shooting one of them, will that be the trigger, no pun intended, that awakens the Nen Beast inside of the 14th prince? That would be pretty cool to see. But that's pretty much all I have to say about that. I think the chapter overall, pretty straightforward. Really what we have to hypothesize about is who is disposing of these people. Do you think that it's the obvious, Franklin and Shizuku, or do you think this could be someone else, one of the princes, one of their guard? I'm not sure, so let me know what you think in the comments section. Thanks a lot for watching, guys. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you all very soon. Bye.